probably seen me here, there, and yonder in some of these other forums. I was in the congressional race for a little while and decided to back out and get involved in at the state level a little more, down where something I could deal with. Because a lot of the issues that I was real passionate about are really state and local level issues. The federal government, you get up there, it's a lot of bureaucracy and it's a lot of stuff, and it's very, very hard for one person to affect change, even though you vote on things like everybody else. But up there it's just so much different, and for you to go up and vote in Washington on something that's gonna come back to Dalton, Gordon County, Calhoun, Murray, wherever you live, and affect life here is very hard. At the state level, we can do that. In case you don't know me, I'm a retired firefighter paramedic. I've lived in Whitfield County since 1984. I started off as a volunteer firefighter in Whitfield County back in 1990, and I was working another full-time job. I worked 15 years as a volunteer before I ever went full-time in the fire service and got my paramedic. So I spent the last 20 years down at the city of Smyrna as a lieutenant, leading bright young men and teaching them how to respond to emergencies, teaching them how to grow up, teaching them how to change wiper blades on their freaking cars because they didn't know. I had planned on talking about education tonight when I got here, and then we've had all the educators and the board members up here talking. I'm like, yeah, we need to change that. Good thing I'm used to working in emergency services because I can think on my feet. I can change like that. I just got to play in my head and go, all right, let's talk about something different. So I won't leave education alone. Everybody in here, we know our education system's broken. We got good teachers, you got bad teachers, you got good schools, you got bad schools. I'm not gonna preach to the choir because y'all know a whole lot more about it than I did. I graduated from Northwest back in 1990, and the biggest thing I did was play football and hang out in the vocational department, which schools don't have anymore, but I'm getting on tangent. But anyway, so let's talk about taxes and money. A lot of people want to stand up here and talk or campaign and go, well, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to cut this tax, we're going to get rid of sales tax, we're going to get rid of property tax. So, okay, how are you going to replace all these funds that are already being spent? Because everybody that's done anything with the budget, no, when you do a budget, if your budget from last year got approved and you want more, but you got, say, $10,000 left out of a $100,000 budget, just for round numbers, you can't go back and ask for 120 next year. They're gonna say, well, you had $10,000 left. You don't need enough. You don't need 20,000 more, and they're gonna shoot you down. So what does everybody do? They go out there and they spend 100% of their budget and run out of money. They're like, hey, we need more money. It don't matter if it's the police chief or the fire chief going out and buying new suits and fancy clothes to go out and look pretty sitting behind his desk, instead of spending it on the officers and the firefighters and the patrol cars and the fire trucks that we need fixed, that's running around here. You know, there's so much stuff like that. You got a lot of waste in money. That's the first thing we got to do. And what was the big thing with Doge? Everybody was looking at, where's all this money going? Where's all the waste coming from? And they started looking into all these different programs and found out where billions and billions of dollars were going. Has anybody done that at the state level? You never hear anything about it at the state level. They keep it quiet. They keep bringing their money in. They even get money from the federal government. Does the federal government watch what the state does with that money? No. What does the state do when they issue money to the counties? If they give, we'll use Whitfield County because we're in Whitfield County right now. If they give Whitfield County $300,000 for emergency services to upgrade their emergency services, who knows what they do with that money? Does anybody oversee that money or watch where that money goes? I can tell you where a lot of it goes, and most people in this room probably have no idea. It goes to Energy Care at Hamilton Medical Center. Free health care to people, because 85% of 911 calls that are run by an emergency, by an ambulance, which the ambulance is privately owned, it's owned by Hamilton Medical Center. The county subsidizes it because they can't collect, because unless it's a car wreck where people have car insurance that actually pays for the bill, or you get lucky and it's somebody that has health insurance, those bills never get paid. And they sit there, and it costs a lot of money to run an ambulance service. I mean, you're talking $180,000, $190,000 vehicle. You got 2 full-time EMTs, paramedics on there, paying salaries, paying insurance. You've got another several $100,000 worth of equipment on that ambulance. You're running it, and that's privately owned. If they're not collecting 80% of their bills, how do they stay in business? Because Whitfield County writes them a check every year to pay for all that, to cover all that indigent health care. And what do we do when we get all these illegals that we had come into Dalton and got flooded with illegal immigrants? It got overloaded. There's no money to pay for this. I worked part-time for Hamilton EMS as a paramedic for 12 years while I was working for the fire department. I picked up hundreds of people that had no insurance. Regular people I went to high school with were some of them. Not all of them are illegals. They're, you know, people that live off the system and they go, I don't have any insurance. I'm not gonna pay this bill. It's like, well, okay, you got a stomach ache, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, there's 4 cars in the driveway, 3 other adults in the house. Why did you call an ambulance for a bill that's gonna cost $6,000 to go ride to the ER when you could have called a freaking taxi or got somebody else out of the bed to take you down there? Well, I don't have to pay for it, you know, I ain't gonna pay for it, no way. We're paying for it. It's all that fraud and abuse of the system. We've got to get back and get rid of that and get rid of the mentality, oh, the government's gonna take care of it. It's not just the federal government. It starts at the local level. The local level here, they divvy out who gets the food stamps. They divvy out who gets the housing assistance. They divvy up all these funding that comes from the federal government and comes down from the state, it gets to the county, and there's somebody sitting behind a desk down here in the county that says, oh, here, you get this, you get this, you get this. We gotta stop that. We gotta get control of that. And if we can do that, that'll help get rid of the spending, and we can actually use our taxpayer dollars for stuff that we need it for. And another thing that is a big waste that just didn't make it through crossover down at the state capitol was the income tax and property tax cuts. There was one going through the state senate, and there was a bill going through the house. One was wanting to do the income tax, the other one was wanting to do property taxes. Well, how in the world can you say, how can they get rid of income taxes? Well, Tennessee's done it. Alabama's about to do it. Tennessee hadn't had them for years. You know what, Brian Kemp's, I voted for him, I'll admit it, voted for him every time. His big thing, number one thing, is Georgia's number one for business. Bringing all these businesses to Georgia. You know how he's doing it? Tax incentives. They're coming into Georgia, they're not paying taxes on their properties. Anything that they buy to build their buildings, they're not paying taxes on it. Equipment, these data centers that everybody's talking about, they don't pay taxes on them computer parts. They come in here, they get the land tax free, they get their computer equipment tax free. The computer equipment has to be replaced every 3 to 5 years. You think they pay taxes on it when they replace it? No. State gives them a free ride. That's millions and millions of dollars. As Eddie stated a while ago, you know, one of the guys who were up for lieutenant governor was one of the champions of this bill. And I mean, it's Blake Tillery. I know him, Eddie knows him. I don't care to mention his name, he's a good guy. But I talked with him in depth about the plan on that with eliminating the taxes and how all this came about. And it blows your mind when you see the facts on it. But I'll back off and leave it at that. You know, as like I said, I started off in the congressional race, back down to the House race after I talked to a lot of different people about it and thought about it for a while. And even before I announced, I called Eddie because I'd made him one of these meetings, and I was like, hey Eddie, I'm gonna let you know, bud, this is what's fixing to happen. Nothing personal, it's nothing against you, but we gotta get this guy out of office. One of us has gotta knock him out. And between the two of us, one of us should be able to do it. You know, if it goes to a runoff, we'll get behind each other and make it happen, whatever we gotta do. But we gotta get something out of office. So I'm sure y'all be seeing me around. I got a website, Brown for GA, or Marty Brown for Georgia on Facebook. So y'all look me up. All my contact info's on these flyers I got out. My cell phone number and email are on there. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a holler. Thanks.